Hey guys, it is Jack here, back with another one of our kind of mini quick review type videos, which I normally do at the end of completing a video game on live stream, but this time around for The Last of Us 2, I actually forgot. I made some notes here for The Last of Us 2 because this game is extremely controversial at the moment. A lot of people are hating the game. A lot of people are really enjoying the game, so I'm here to give you my honest opinions, and I'm going to try and do so in a manner that is as unbiased as I can. I'm going to be surprised if everybody is in one mind over this game based on the responses so far, but again, all I can do is tell you guys how I feel, so I'm going to get into that without further ado. Straight up, did I enjoy the game The Last of Us 2? Yes, I thought it was really good. Again, some people are in a disagreement with that, but we'll get into that as we go, and I'll try and look at the counter arguments and some of the negatives, and I'm going to try and address some of the criticisms of the game, and then we're going to take it from there. I went into the game not knowing much. I went in with no spoilers. I had my experience from The Last of Us 1 and my knowledge of playing that game and how much I enjoyed it, but other than that, I went into this game completely blind. What did I actually like about the game? Let's start nice and simple. Obviously, the graphics are phenomenal. The Last of Us 1 and the PS4 remastered version was pretty good. Obviously, now they're pushing the graphics to the limit. I think this is one of the best games you're going to see in terms of visuals on the PS4, and it's definitely pushing the hardware to the extremes. I think everything looks great when you play this game, and I don't think a lot of people are going to debate that. I also feel like the gameplay itself was great, so even before we get into any of the story-driven stuff, any of the narrative stuff, I felt like the gameplay is really fulfilling, just like The Last of Us 1. There's some new mechanics, but it's mostly similar to the first game. There's these huge arenas for fighting in, and you can basically take part in the game however you like. Now, you will be restricted to ammo and stuff like that, but depending on, again, what you decide to do in the scenarios, certain action scenes can go really well for you, meaning you have lots of ammo, or they can go poorly, meaning you have no ammo, and etc, etc. It kind of plays out however you guys play, to be honest. I feel like the story itself was engaging and unpredictable. Now, again, I'll get into some of the stuff earlier about what people didn't like about the story, but for me, I was really engaged all the way through it from start to finish. I feel like this game was up there, and I really enjoyed it. The acting was great from the characters. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of, I forget what you call it, but obviously they get in the real people to act out the scenes. I felt like all the voice acting and some of the narration from the characters was spot on and really good. I felt like it was all believable. Again, there was a nice blend of action and looting in the game. There was points where you were just scurrying around looking for supplies, and then suddenly you were in a fight against a zombie, then you're fighting against bandits, then you're fighting against the cultists, then you're fighting against the WLF. There's flashback moments in the game as well to kind of break up the action so that you're not kind of sitting, tense as fuck playing for 3 hours just hiding from zombies. It breaks the game up into different sections, and I feel like that's quite soothing, because if you're getting too much story, it gets boring, and then if you have too much action, it can get really kind of like full on, and you get exhausted playing it. But anyways, moving on quickly, the cinematics were pretty good as well. You get the quick time action sequences when you're running from the zombies with Joel, or as Abby, and with Joel and stuff in the beginning, and then you've obviously got your fight scenes like Abby in the woods against the cultists when she has the hammer. There's a whole different blend of gameplay happening inside this game, and I feel like it does a great job of kind of giving you different sequences and different scenes, and you get a nice kind of mashup, if you like. It took us 6 days of streaming this game. We did 7 to 8 hour streams 6 days in a row. I felt like I got good value for money out of this game in comparison to some other shitty titles that came out this year that were very expensive games. I mean, The Last of Us cost me £55 here in the UK, and again, to get 6 days out of it was not bad for me. I've saw reviews online and people feel like it's underwhelming for the price you paid, but then I've also saw people online saying that the game's far too long, so it's really just comes down to personal preference. I feel I got good value out of this game, and I think it was worth the money. I would recommend for you guys, this is just a side note, and you don't have to listen to this if you've already played the game. This won't even matter to you at all, but I recommend that if you want to get the most out of this game, play it on a challenging difficulty. Don't play on easy mode. I see a lot of these people saying like the gameplay was stale. I personally don't understand that, because in my gameplay, in my experience, we played on hard difficulty. Every piece of resource to me was important. I felt like I had to use every single piece of my equipment in order to survive. I played the scenarios out as if every death was like super important in the game. If you imagine you're the character and that you're fighting for your life, you can get a really great experience from playing this game if you challenge yourself. Play on a harder difficulty and you'll have a really good time with this. It's worth it for me. That's pretty much everything I enjoyed about the game. I'm going to look at some of the criticisms that people are talking about right now. This is stuff I've read online. I did go after I finished the game and look at some of the counter arguments. I tried really hard to go and understand their point of view. For me, it was challenging to find videos that weren't just bitching and actually made constructive points without point blank hating on the game. The most common complaint about the game is that the plot and the story was bad. Now, I can understand that people are unhappy with certain aspects. We're going to get into Joel's death in a minute, but for me personally, I feel like the story was mega engaging. Abby was introduced as a new character. Abby is probably the most controversial factor in the whole discussion about this game, so we'll talk about that in a minute, but I feel like the story really gripped me at all points. I felt like the plot was kind of Game of Thrones-esque in the sense that I didn't know what characters were going to survive at the end of it. Again, I had no spoilers, I had no understanding about what was going to happen, and when I'm playing through the game, I really do truly get this experience where I just don't know what's going to happen, and to me that is a good story. I didn't know if Ellie was going to die, I didn't know if Abby was going to die. I'll get into more details because obviously that's quite a bland one and it's quite hard to answer, so I'll go through these one at a time. The characters' motives seem irrational and made little sense was another comment I saw. I personally feel like Ellie's motivation is quite clear. She is consumed by anger about Joel's death. Obviously, there is a lot of unspoken stuff between Ellie and Joel. They're obviously just trying to begin to mend their relationship. It's hard for Ellie and it's hard for the player to watch that happen, and you hate Abby for what she's done and you hate that she's taken away Joel. But I feel like Abby's motivation is very clear. Her dad was a nice guy. He had potentially the cure to the human race. He's murdered by Joel in cold blood almost. Abby doesn't decide she's going to murder a random person. She's got obviously a motive, and it's again driven in the same way that Ellie's driven in terms of her hatred and anger. The ending felt underwhelming. I could understand this point the most. You want to see somebody achieve victory, and there is no really a winner. There's not really a winner at the end of this game. I felt like Abby could have died and Ellie could have got a revenge, but then it kind of defeats the whole purpose. I'm sure there was an overwhelming amount of people that wanted to see Abby die, but there is no yes moment at the end of the game. There's no victor, but I feel like that's the point. It's the point of the revenge tale, and that revenge never really ends with a winner. You know, Ellie loses her 2 fingers. I feel like that is a symbol of how when you go on these kind of tirades for revenge, you do lose a part of yourself. In the case of Ellie, quite literally. The game forces you to like Abby. I've seen people saying that, like, oh, they want you to like Abby, they really want you to like Abby. I didn't feel like I was forced to like anyone when I played this game. I felt like the game is it shows you Abby doing something horrendous at the start, which is killing Joel, your favourite character, if not your second favourite character from the first game. You get that fucking horrific anger inside you as a player where you just want Abby to fucking, you know, you want to put her through a fucking wood chipper or whatever. But I don't feel like the game forced me to like Abby at all. The game presented Abby's backstory to me, and it's down to you if you are on board with that or not. I personally found that Abby was a cool character to play as. I know some people will absolutely despise her. I've seen it as very clear online. Although I didn't like Abby nearly as much as I liked Ellie, and although Abby was randomly introduced in this game as a new character, I personally felt like Abby was fine. I didn't feel like I was forced to like her. People were complaining about the structure of the game and how it's kind of disjointed. I saw some people talking about how you play as Ellie, and then you play as Abby, and then what happens is your desire to see Abby brought to justice as Ellie kind of filters away, and you kind of forget about it because suddenly you're playing as Abby again. And so when you come back to the final confrontation between Abby and Ellie, you're like, what the fuck's going on? Again, I feel like that's intentional. Let's say you played day 1 as Ellie, day 1 as Abby. I feel like that would have been so fucked up in terms of learning your characters, because you would have been mixed up with your inventory management in terms of, okay, Ellie's got lots of bullets, Abby doesn't. Abby's got different skills from Ellie and so forth. So I feel like if you had been constantly swapping between them, it would have been even more disorientating, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on when you swap back and forward between them. I feel like they chose a kind of unique storytelling method in this game where they give you Ellie's side of things and then they give you Abby's side of things and then they bring it back together at the end. It's unusual for sure, and I don't know if it's the best way they could have done it, but personally, I don't feel like it was problematic for me. This one's quite good. Joel's death was disrespectful to his character, so some people are enraged at the fact that Joel was obviously so important, and then suddenly he is immediately killed at the beginning of this game. On one hand, people are saying that it's really, really stinking and minging to see Joel be killed in this way because he's so important. I personally feel like that's part of obviously the game is trying to kick off with a bit of shock value. Is it cool that they used Joel in order to like ignite the spark within Ellie to, you know, kickstart the plot of this game? It kind of sucks. Did I want to see Joel die at the beginning? No. Did I want to see Joel killed in such a like heinous manner? No. I think the main thing that people are upset about is the fact that in the first game, Joel is obviously this really, really successful survivor, and that he's very, very clever. He actually predicts traps and setups. In the first game, when he's traveling with Ellie, there's that classic scene where he's driving along the road, there's a pedestrian walks out into the middle of the road as they're entering the city, and Joel immediately knows that it's a trap. People are arguing, if Joel is so clever and he's so wise and, you know, he's been surviving all through his life, why does he just give himself up so easily? I've saw people argue, you know, if Joel's so clever, like why does he just reveal his name to a group of strangers? That's so out of character for him. I kind of understand where you're coming from in that regard, but I do feel like there are a lot of circumstances that kind of could make it possible for Joel to just be like, you know, yo, my name's Joel. I'll go over some of them quickly. First and foremost, I think the most obvious counter argument to this is that Joel has been living many years after he's been on the road with Ellie in the sanctuary of the Jackson kind of base. Now, Joel doesn't live inside the base. You see him, he's got his little house outside. But my point is that maybe, just maybe, Joel, in his, as he gets older, he's becoming less and less kind of athletic. You see he's got grey hair, so one, he's getting older, but two, I think he's becoming a bit more settled and a bit more safe within the confines of the Jackson kind of base. Maybe he's been accustomed to the fact that there's no bandits attacking him all the time. He doesn't have to fight for his life every single day. He's got a bed to sleep in at night. He's got food. He's got medicine. Ellie's safe. From the harsh reality of the first game where he's constantly traveling, every single day is a fight for survival, to suddenly you're living in the safety of a new settlement, then maybe you become a bit lax. Maybe your defenses come down a little bit. I think that's a fair argument. Obviously, when Joel bangs into Abby and they help each other, maybe that's another reason why he's kind of lured into a false sense of security, because when they are running from the zombie horde, first of all, if you're chased by a flock of zombies with someone that you've been helping, Abby and Joel and Tommy all help each other during that mission. Abby's holding off the zombies as Tommy pushes the cable car for them to climb out and things like that. Joel pulls Abby up on the horse and then they ride to safety, and when they get to the compound, it's Abby's friends that kind of allow them to come in. They kill the zombies. Joel and Tommy are feeling relaxed. They thank each other. There's actually a scene where like Tommy asks for a horse brush from one of the characters. There's a scene where Tommy shakes the hand of one of the people, and this is all happening in front of Joel. So in that scenario, if you put yourselves in that position, even if you are Joel, who's lived through many years of like deceit and lies and trickery, and maybe just maybe when he wanders into that scenario, he does feel for a second that he's actually safe and he's in good hands. They are strangers, but they've been working together. Joel happens to tell him that his name's Joel. Tommy reveals that his name's Tommy. I mean, it's up to you guys if you buy that or not. People said online, oh well, Joel should know that people are looking for him. Again, this is like 2 to 4 years later. He might have just lured himself into a sense of security where he's like, okay, I'm actually okay now. He's not had a lot of practice with this kind of thing in a while. I don't know, guys, but anyways, let me move on here. I saw some people talking about Ellie's character is ruined in this game. She goes from like the very likable dork in the first game to being, like, as I said earlier, she's very moody, aggressive, cold, and generally unlikable in this game. Now, I personally love Ellie, even when she was having her cold moments. I don't feel like Ellie being like the way she is in this game is totally out of the question either. People talking about how they've ruined Ellie's character. This is just, to me, this is just Ellie's character growth. This is part of her arc. She's quite young, first of all. It looks like she's coming out of her teenage years, so she's probably mega teenagey and angsty as it is, right? But on top of that, she has to deal with the grief of Joel being missing, and so she fills that void of Joel's disappearance with the only thing she knows what to do, which is to kill Abby. And she feels like, as with every kind of revenge story, that killing the person is going to make things better. And the same with Abby is obsessed with killing Joel. So again, I feel like Ellie's character is totally natural in this regard. She's dead serious. She is all about just vengeance and killing. You could maybe argue that even after Abby trying to end the cycle of blood by allowing Ellie and Dina to live, that Ellie's, maybe her character there is a little bit unbelievable, because, you know, to want to go back after Abby when Tommy comes back and reignites that, he's like, okay, we're going to go and find Abby, blah blah blah. It's maybe unbelievable that Ellie would be on board for that, perhaps. On the subject of unbelievable characters, I also feel like that scene with Tommy when he comes back into the cabin and he's like, oh, you're such a pussy or whatever. He says something really like out of character for Uncle Tommy. Uncle Tommy is the one that's trying to convince Ellie not to go in the first place way back at the beginning of the game. When they finally meet up inside the theatre together with Abby and Dina and Jesse and Tommy together, Tommy is trying to convince Ellie to go back home. So for Tommy to turn around at the end of the game and be like, ugh, I can't believe that you won't go after her by yourself. I can't go, but you need to go. Somebody needs to do it. I feel like that was really fucking wild for Tommy. Some of the people in my chat were arguing that because he received a gunshot that maybe he was a bit mentally unstable. He was also on the rocks with his his love interest. I don't get that. Tommy's character there was a bit fucking sporadic, but anyways, not really that important. Let's move on. I saw some people online talking about the gameplay being boring and repetitive. I feel like, again, that comes down to what difficulty you're playing the game on. I felt like every single part of the game was pretty enticing. I felt like there was a really good blend. If anybody's ever played Persona, there's a very nice blend between palace raiding and the social aspects. One minute you're fighting, then you're doing strategy with your characters and your team. I feel like in The Last of Us, it was kind of similar. One minute you are fighting enemies and zombies and cultists, and then you go back and you get a nice character moment where it chills, and then by the end of that discussion, you're looking forward to looting and collecting stuff again. I saw people online saying that the game is longer than it needs to be, but then I also feel like we live in an era where when games aren't long enough, people complain. I saw people online saying that there's not enough replayability. I feel like when you buy The Last of Us, you know you're getting in for a single player game. There's so many things you can do with the enemies. You can go in guns ablaze, you can go stealth, you can use the environment a little bit to your advantage where you like sneak through a different path. I feel like there is a tad bit of replayability in this game. You can definitely play through it a second time and do some different stuff. There's obviously the New Game Plus, but when I bought The Last of Us 2, I was kind of signing up for the fact of, okay, this is a single player game that I'm going to play once for the story, and then that's me. It's probably going to go on the shelf. So I feel like if people buy the game and then understand that and then complain about it, I'm kind of like, I'm a bit confused. We're kind of getting to the end of my list here, guys, so I'll wrap these last few points up quickly. I saw some comments online, people talking about how the fact that Alien is a lesbian, the fact that Ellie's gay is shoved in your face 24/7 when you play the game. I just don't understand these kind of comments, because I don't feel that way at all. Ellie is gay in the game. It's just a part of her character. There are moments where she kisses Dina, but that's no different to when you play as a male character kissing females in other video games. There are moments where Ellie kisses Dina. There are moments where Ellie and Dina roll around in their underwear when they're getting high together, smoking weed, and then there's bits at the end where they're kind of kissy, cuddly with the baby. I just feel like these are parts of Ellie's character, and the game gave it to me in a way that it was just a smooth progression, and it's different to what a lot of people are expecting. Ellie was gay, they showcased that once or twice, but it wasn't in any way different to a straight relationship in any other video game I've played. Some people said that the game was marketed as having Joel in the game a bunch, but then obviously he's killed in the beginning, which is quite misleading. I actually don't know if this is true or not. I haven't seen any of the trailers. I maybe need to go back and watch some. If they've showcased Joel in the trailers more than he was actually in the game, which is very, very little, then that is obviously kind of shitty, and there's no defense for that personally. I don't know if that's actually accurate or not. Lastly, some people suggested that in order for you to understand Abby and enjoy Abby and maybe connect with Abby better, it would have been a bit more sensible to perhaps showcase Abby's character development first. So maybe show Abby finding out about her dad's death in the beginning of the game, and then later on in the game maybe have a showdown with Abby and Joel where she kills Joel. And that way there would have been a nice balance of you're getting to see Abby's backstory and understand her motives. You're also getting to play as Joel a little bit in the beginning of the game. That would have tied together nicely with some of the wants that we've talked about in the list and some of the criticisms. The reason I feel like they've not done that is because, again, one part of Abby's obviously motive is her friends being killed, which has to happen after Joel's dead. So either you build up Abby first, kill Joel in the middle, and then the first part of the game has to be a bit slower, because you're not going to have any motivation for Ellie at that point. You're going to have to come up for another reason for Ellie to go on the rampage in the beginning. I don't know what that could have been. I also feel like they wanted to start the beginning of this game off with a shock, and obviously killing Joel is the ultimate power there. It's the ultimate tool of killing one of your favourite, if not your most favourite character off immediately in the beginning of the game. Again, did I want to see Joel die in that way? No. Was it for shock value? Yes. But again, the kind of horrific way that Joel's killed, and the way that we don't get to see him speak to Ellie, and we don't get to see Ellie speak to Joel, and it all just adds to the fact that you're really upset and you understand Ellie's pain, and then it also gives you a reason to really hate Abby. I don't know, guys. This video is already miles longer than I wanted to. I'm going to review it in a minute and see if I can chop bits out. But for the most part, I enjoyed The Last of Us 2. I feel like a lot of people are not. They didn't enjoy it. That's fine. If you are disappointed with this game, I'm really sorry to hear that, and it sucks if that's the case. I feel like some people have like legit criticisms, and again, I've tried to understand that, but I also feel like there are a lot of people that are complaining just for the sake of complaining. There's a wave of negativity being thrown at this game, and I feel like it's really easy for a lot of people to jump on that wave and just be like, yeah, this game sucks. First thing to do is look at this game yourself, play it by yourself, try and get your own reaction first. And if you play it with no prior expectations, if you went in blind and you still hated it, then fair enough. I can't argue with you. I'm sorry that you didn't enjoy it, but there are definitely much worse games out there right now than this game, and I feel like this game is head and shoulders above a lot of other games that will be released this decade, and if this isn't going to make you happy, then there's going to be a lot of disappointment for the rest of the year or whatever. But I hope some of my rambling wasn't too painful to listen to. I hope I didn't repeat myself too often. And yeah, you can leave me your thoughts and feelings. I will try and answer you guys down in the comments. I always try and do this in an unbiased manner where I can look at everybody's point of view and try and learn from you guys. So definitely let me know your feelings, and I'll catch up with you later. All right, thank you for watching. Take it easy, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.